No, you didn't send me anything with Notepad.
What?
Wait, what?
American Angus beef. Angus beef.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Butter on Boat's newest video. This is Francisco. This will be a new series in the channel, kind of like a Weiss Schwarz podcast, hopefully with the same cast and maybe different guests, so I hope you guys enjoy. Quick update for the channel, I just want to release more content, kind of like this. We'll probably have more content soon. Hope you guys are ready for that. So, Albert and Jesus, say hi real quick.
Hi, real quick.
Okay.
Oh, you meant as in
Albert?
Where's Albert?
You're cringe. Hello.
Yo, let's go!
Okay.
You see, I got a reaction. That's great.
Okay, cool. Albert and Jesus, we share our locals together, so they're going to be a guest in this channel at least. So, just a quick introduction from you guys. 3 little questions. How did you guys find out about Weiss? And then how long have you been in the game? Or like, when did you start? And then what is your favorite set in the game? So let's start from Albert.
Starting with me. All right. How I got into Weiss? Actually, I was playing, I believe, at a Vanguard regional, and like I was going around, and I saw that my local shop had a booth set up, and I saw that they had Fake Elite Ilya, and I was like, hey, I like that anime, so I wanted to pick up like a box from them. Picked up my first box, hit an SP, and I'm like, well, I gotta play this game now.
Oh, he's hooked.
Yeah, I mean, you get that one hit, and you know, like the dopamine, man, just strikes. For how long? That was. Man, I don't even know when Fate Elite came out. That's like 2018? 2019? Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
I was gonna say, like, then that makes you the most veteran out of, like, everybody, basically in our locals, right?
Yeah. I think outside of maybe the shop owner, like, I've been playing for a pretty long time, but it's basically been on and off. I've just started getting back into the game. Like, I would play my Fake Elite deck with my friends and stuff and at my local, but I didn't really seriously start looking into the game until probably now, Quince 2, when I really picked up the game.
Okay, continue on for your favorite set.
Favorite set? Favorite set might be different than favorite deck or character, but favorite set is probably going to Ilya, because I love playing that, my finisher. Like, having the 3-2 Ilya Kaleidoscope combo is so cool. So that's probably my favorite set, again, probably just because it got me into the game. But card and character, number 1 character is Ruka, obviously.
Nice.
Rent a Girlfriend, because just saw the character from one of our guys opening, was it packs at our shop, saw the character, fell in love, built the deck, and I love it. And favorite card is definitely the 1/1 event for Ruka, the stupid take a damage, burn 79, finds you with a level 1 combo.
Yo, and going next is Jesus. How about you?
Okay, so I'm probably, no, I wouldn't say the newest, but I'm one of the newer guys that definitely started playing this game, because I started when the same day that Tokyo Revengers dropped, I would say, is when I got interested in Weiss. It was just like a random, I had just moved back from Florida. I moved back here to California, and I was driving. You know, you're never supposed to use your phone while driving, but I was like, whatever, I'm at a red light. And on my Facebook, which I never check, it said like, oh, get Tokyo Revengers on Weiss Schwarz. I was like, oh, well, you know what? I mean, I got nothing better to do, right? Like, I compete in fighting games, and there was no fighting game I was competing in at the time. So I was like, maybe I'll pick up another card game. Why not? And so I went to my local game store. I bought the trial deck, and then I met you guys through Facebook, and I learned how to play, and that's that. I've been playing since what? When did it come out? July? August? No, I was still in Florida in July. It was August, like August or September is when I started playing, and it's been history since then. I love the game. I think the game's a lot of fun. And then as for favorite set, even though I do go by Jesus Joestar, I think my favorite set is still going to be Tokyo Revengers. Like, no matter what, I feel like no matter how many sets I've looked at and bought for, I don't think I've ever spent time deck building or learning and stuff like that like I did for Revengers. Like, I'll sit there and I'll be like, oh yeah, it's like whatever, it's glass cat, whatever. But I think about like just like the nostalgia of it, of like talking to you or talking to some of the other guys of like, how can I make this trial deck better? How can I make, and then I built dual laners, and like even after building dual laners, I was like, oh, I know that there's different versions I could build for this deck, right? Like, I just genuinely love the series. Like, I love the series. I think a lot of the cards do really cool things. Although I will say that I think some of the artwork could have been done better, but you know, whatever. Like, I'm happy with what I got. And then if we go by favorite character, I'm just gonna keep it simple and keep it in the series for right now. Favorite character is for sure Chifuyu.
Yo.
Like, Chifuyu, like I always thought was really, really cool. He's my favorite, and then favorite card in that deck would probably be the it's probably, you see, I could say Chifu again, but my favorite one was actually the Baji. I think Baji, like the whole effect of like pay 8, you know, and then you summon the mic. I think all that was really cool because that was like the first time I played a deck or a card that like did crazy things like that. You get me? Like to me, it was just a lot, and I was like, oh, and I get to summon, and you burn this, and you do. It was just, or like that combo in general, Baji Mikey combo, I think was really cool.
Well, that might change, right, for your favorite set because the new JoJo's coming out in
Oh
GP.
yeah, obviously, you know. I think with Revenge, even with JoJo coming out, I think Revenge is just because it's what got me into the game, and because like I met, like if it wasn't for that set, I probably would have met nobody here. Like I wouldn't have cared for it, and because like it's the set that I definitely put the most time into, like it's always gonna have a special place in my heart.
Well, as for me, if you guys know, like if you haven't watched our videos before, but like me, I found out about Weiss. Me as Francisco, by the way, I found out about Weiss through Hololive. Been a game ever since I released our first video, I guess. And then, yeah, it's all Hololive from here. But jumping right into it, our first topic is just gonna be a lot of information. It's just gonna be like all the release like sets that is coming out in EN. So we're gonna talk about the EN upcoming Weiss sets, and then everything else that's following and whatever they released or at least announced for EN through the Bushiroad English Conference. So starting off with some of the dates right now that they just released like over the weekend was Saikano. It was released in May 5, and right now as of recording is the current latest set. And then next ones is gonna be like Grisai on May 19th, Quint's Movie June 2, and then the big one, Avatar The Last Airbender, going to be in June 16th. And then following up with other dates from the latest English Conference Spring 2023 by Bushiroad, is going to be Hololive Volume 2, and it's going to be pre-sold at AX, so get your boxes there. It's going to be similar to the Premium Booster last year. And then Overlord, Revue Starlight, Guilty Gear, etc. But as of today, they haven't announced dates for Azure and Chainsaw Man yet, and also Spy Family. But the latest release that is gonna come to English is gonna be Licorice Recoil. No dates as of yet, but it will come probably this year. So out of all those sets that's just mentioned, any standout sets, any disappointments, anything at all for you guys?
I mean, obviously, like you said, the big one, Avatar.
Yeah.
Like
Avatar, yeah, I would say that, you know, at least for a set that has an actual release date, right, that we know is going to come out at a certain time, I would agree with Albert on that one. I think Avatar is the one that's really calling out to me. You know, I grew up with the show. You grew up with the show. I think all of us did, and we all watched it. So I'm pretty excited.
And we also have some of the cards that are there too, right?
Yeah, the leagues look amazing. Like I'm really excited for the standby combo. Dancing Dragons looks really good, in my opinion.
Any sets that you were like, okay, kind of disappointing that we're getting it, not because we're getting it, just because like, oh, I'd rather have something else?
Currently, with what we have lined up, I'm basically excited for everything. I think what I'm going to say is probably a hot take. Personally, I'm not a big fan because I haven't watched it or even gotten any media of it. I don't care for Chainsaw Man. I mean, I might want to say, oh, Chainsaw Man, like, whatever. Review Starlight, who cares? There's probably a couple people out there that do like Review Starlight. I played the game. I did enjoy it. I watched the anime. I did enjoy it, but it's not a big deal. I haven't seen people really asking for Review Starlight. That could have been a different set that we could have got.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with Albert on that one. Review Starlight. No, I don't know anything about it. You know, you see, this is more of a biased standpoint because I just don't really care for it, right? So I'm not like disappointed by it. I'm sure there's people out there that were really happy they're getting it. But if I did have to choose like a different set that I would prefer over it, I would say like I would take Bang Dream or Love Life over that than Review Starlight. And that's just my opinion. As far as for what I'm excited for, I think all the other sets I'm really excited for. Like I'm very excited to see what they do with Chainsaw Man. Very excited to see what they do with Guilty Gear, you know, as a fighting game player myself, and that being my main game and what I compete in. And the fact that they also got Hungry Clicker, which you guys should follow on Twitter because they post amazing artwork all the time. I'm just excited to see what they do with it. Like I'm very, very happy that they chose that person as the artist for, I'm assuming, most of the cards. And
I think it's gonna be the high rarity, honestly.
Yeah, and I'm very happy that Guilty Gear ended up being a set. I would say the crazy thing about it though, and where I get like a little not confused, but I'm like, okay, you know, it's still cool that we're getting is the fact that it's an English exclusive set when Guilty Gear is huge in Japan. So that part's a little trippy. But other than that, like, I'm vibing. And then obviously like Spy Family and what else is what was the other sets going out? Do you still have it on there?
What was it? Chainsaw Man, Spy Fam, Legal Rico,
Oh,
Overlord.
Yeah. Oh, Overlord for sure. Overlord I really, really want to get into. Mostly because Beto is like my favorite character. One of my favorite characters ever.
Oh, Beto from Genshin. Cool.
Genshin Impact.
Yeah.
We also
Beta,
have
bro.
like, I mean, the fan favorite. We didn't cover this one because it's gonna be Fran's probably gonna love it. But Hololive 2, right? It's got our EN girls in there. Gonna show a lot of love for us.
And
Got
it's
the
probably
Gura players.
It's probably gonna be really big. We'll say that Avatar is gonna bring a lot of people because from like a different facet of the, I don't want to call it like anime, but like it's a different facet of the anime world, quote unquote. But it's still gonna be bringing a lot of people, just as Hololive brought a lot of people from other card games, other like similar like anime circle. All right, for you guys, quick questions then. In all those sets that we just announced, there will be like JP sets that could come to English too. So any JP set that you think will be ported over to EN.
I'll let my boy Jesus Joestar take this one. I think it's a pretty
Bro,
obvious.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 3 and 6. I think it's coming to the US. I don't see why they wouldn't bring it over when they brought over Part 5 a very long time ago. And I think it did okay, but it would have done better if it was Part 3 because Part 3 is the one that a lot of people know for. A lot of people watched and whatnot. And now that it's Part 6 coming out with it as well, it's the newest part. The season just ended. It has all the hype. I think from JP, at least right now, JoJo's is like probably on my top of the list. Not aside from the fact that I also really want it in EN, but I think it's one of those sets where it's like, why wouldn't you have it in? You get me?
Oh yeah, JoJo is one of those IPs that is most beloved even in the West. Bushiroad not porting it from JP to EN would probably be a bit of a mistake. If they don't like money, then they'll probably not bring JoJo, but
It's free, man.
Yeah.
Free money.
Exactly. What about you,
And
Albert?
then-
Everyone loves
oh, yeah,
JoJo.
go for it.
Yeah.
For me, for recently announced sets, if we're going with just recently announced that are coming out, my number one is probably going to Uma Musume, just because I love Uma Musume a lot. And I think it'd be a really cool, even with the cards that they've shown recently, they just looks like super fun deck. Marker system and just really fun pushed combos. I don't think it's coming, but that would be my number one. I think D4DJ has a chance of coming over, and I would love that because I've been playing the JP version and it's really, really fun. Not the best, but definitely fun.
What else were you gonna say, Jesus?
No, I completely like blanked out in the sense of like I was gonna mention serious, but I'm like, all right.
Oh, okay, I
We're good.
see.
Yeah, we're fine.
Okay. Well, the most for sure thing that we're gonna get that is already out in JP is gonna be Grisaio Volume 2, and also Saikano, the third one, Saikano Fine, is like almost guaranteed. Granted, they're both sequel sets, and I do agree with like JoJo and maybe Puzzles and Dragons that will probably port over to EN. But again, it's still like in the near future, and like a lot of the sets that has been announced is still really, really hype.
I
Yeah.
feel like Pad may not come over. I don't know what the numbers are on Pad's like
For the
sales
West, right?
in the
Yeah.
West. Yeah,
Mhm.
because that's the issue. I think we were talking about how Oshinoko could come over. I feel like it's doing pretty well in the West right now. So I think that might actually have more traction than Pad. Hell, even Ari Ferretta could make it over.
Okay, all
I don't
right.
think
Yeah,
we're
Ari
gonna get any light
Ferretta, I
novel
think
stuff though.
I'm gonna piggyback off Albert there. I think Ari Ferretta would be pretty cool over here. I feel like I see a lot of people that know about that one than I would say about Pad. Even though Pad's been out like forever. you know?
Yeah.
Ari Ferretta is just a popular isekai standard
Mhm.
jank anime.
Yeah.
It's not terrible. It's
I want to start it. I
It's
hear a lot of
fun.
good things about it. I want to give it a shot. See if I stick with it.
It's a bit much for me, but I think I can definitely see the appeal for certain people. I think that you would actually really like it.
Okay.
So, barring sets that are like not probably coming to EN, like Marvel.
Anything light novel, yeah.
Yeah, sorry for like the Sword Art fans. We did
The
get
Dengeki fans.
yeah, we did get the anime side of the 10th anime for Sword Art, but we didn't get the light novel version of the South 10. Not naming those sets that are not coming. Do you guys have any other wish lists that you want to come as an IP for Weiss?
a lot.
You start off.
Yeah, okay. So, I wouldn't count this as like a new series technically because there already is one, but I would like to see the return of it. Hence, like going off the theme of fighting games, the King of Fighters coming back would be a really good one because they released King of Fighters 13 ages ago in JP only. But seeing as how like KOF 15 actually grew in popularity and there's still a lot of people that play it, and it's a really fun game. And if they do expand to the fighting game world, I think that would be pretty cool. I also, and this is a hot take, right? I also would not be surprised if at the end of this year, like at the big, Weiss tournament and whatnot, I wouldn't be surprised if they announced, and this is like, again, reaching Street Fighter 6 because of how big Street Fighter 6 is going to be and the insane amount of support. And if Guilty Gear does really good and it's being received really well, I think they're probably going to hop into Street Fighter 6. And they already have an artist that makes a lot of Street Fighter art, Hungry Clicker, like stupid amounts of Street Fighter art that's really, really good. I'm like, you don't even need to have the 3D models on the cards, right, to make them look really nice. You already have an artist, Hungry Clicker. Plus, the game itself actually has a lot of story mode in 2D art, so it's like you have everything. And that's just sticking with the fighting game side. But that's like my reach. I'm like, if you stick with fighting game genre, bringing it to, I think Street Fighter 6 probably has one of the highest chances of being in Weiss. And then just two more real quick. Obviously, I'm always gonna say it, Genshin. I think Genshin would be really, really cool in this, even though they kind of already have their own TCG. But it would always be really nice, Genshin or Grand Blue, right? Grand Blue Fantasy.
Oh, Grand Blue, yeah.
I think Grand Blue would be very, very, very sick in this. And then if we're talking animes though, shoot, man, I feel like they've hit like a lot of the ones I think I would add on to here. And then like everything else kind of already has a card game. Like obviously like you have Jujutsu Kaisen, Demon Slayer, and I was just throwing it out there. Initial D, dude, give me my racing cars. Like let my climax be drifty. Dude, like my level 3 AE86, bro. Like you burn out. You burn freaking.
Bro, the initial rares are gonna be just the freaking logo of the car.
Yeah, it's just the logo of the car, and then they're gonna add it so that whenever you play it, like the song plays, like Ed be gone.
Oh no!
I'll just throw it out, bro. It would be sick, bro. It would be. I'm telling you, but that's just me memeing around.
I don't deny it. For me, the obvious ones, I do want a lot of updated sets. I would love for Danmachi to get a second set because I want to actually play a deck with like an actual Ice combo, maybe a Ryu combo, one of those, a Haruhime combo. Like, come on, man. Give me Danmachi set 2. We deserve it. After that, Ruby. We got a lot to work with that. Ruby set 1 was really, actually pretty good. I want set 2 of that. Give me the updated art. Make my Ruby rares look nice. Beyond that, for actual Wish, something that I don't think is happening. I know my boy Jesus here wants a Genshin. Personally, I want Honkai Impact 3rd.
Okay.
Different MiHoYo title.
Yeah, Honkai has really, really good art that is like perfect for like card games. Yeah, if we're talking Genshin, we can talk about Honkai. It just adds big.
Yeah, you wouldn't have Genshin without Honkai,
Exactly.
So it is. And I think their cinematics are so good. Those cinematics would make perfect CX arts. That would be insane. And then if we're just going with a random wild one, recent anime I watched, really loved, give me Onimai. Onimai was a really cute anime, honestly. Apparently did really well in Japan, beating out a lot of other animes from last season. So give me that. We love cute anime girls. It has cute anime girls. Nothing more to say.
Yo, can I mention two more real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hell no.
That I just thought about.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, go ahead.
Bro, Castlevania. I'm just saying.
Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Oh, bro, I would cry. I grew up with it, right? And they released that anime and whatnot on Netflix and all that. So I think that would be sick. It's most likely would be like an English exclusive set though, if anything. I think that would be really cool, and I'm surprised I actually get into it. Or Trigun, bro. Ooh. I'm just saying, Trigun is so sick. Whichever one, whether it be like
they go with the new season of Trigun.
That's fine. I enjoyed it too. I enjoyed Trigun Stampede too. Like I thought that was really, really good too.
Okay.
But I know that the CG throws a lot of people off.
That's really about it, right? But I mean, aside from that, like the story's really good. Like everything's still really good about it. It's just more modernized. Like, if you look at and this is just a real quick thing, right? If you look like what they do with a lot of games or a lot of reboots, right? They try to modernize the characters. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Devil May Cry. And then sometimes it works really well. Like look at Guilty Gear. Like a lot of these characters don't look like the way they did in the previous titles, but that's because they modernized them to look a little more appealing to the human eye so that more people get into it. That's kind of what they did with Trigun. Like they could have kept them with like the spiky hair and all that stuff, but no, they give them more modern modernized look to accommodate more people, like to actually watch it. I liked it. I don't care what anybody says. I thought it was cool, and I think it would be an amazing Weiss.
So going back to, I think, Trigun and even like Grand Blue, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of those titles, aren't they like all Aniplex, or am I just spitballing? Because I know Grand Blue Fantasy is an Aniplex title. We might get it if it's like a lot of the Weiss sets are like coming from Aniplex, at least.
Look, if
anime.
if they give me Grand Blue, I want it from the game. I don't want nothing from that anime video.
No,
it did not look good.
I agree. I agree with Albert. I'm a seasonal player. I'm only there for free rolls and all that. But if they give the anime stuff, I'm out.
Well,
Grand Blue Fantasy has some of the best art I've ever seen out of a gacha game.
So pretty.
I think maybe my second favorite. Arknights might take it for number one. Grand Blue is such a beautiful game, and if they ruined it with the frickin' anime, I'd cry. They do not deserve that treatment.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's why I'm kind of mentioning it, because a lot of the Aniplex stuff like Sword Art, Nisekoi, Monogatari series, those are all like Aniplex. So if you start looking at Aniplex IPs, Ruroken Full Metal, I think, is also one. So you can look at those and like, okay, if Bunny Girl can make it an Aniplex IP, I guess, like Madoka or even Persona. Okay, granted, Persona is not technically just straight up Aniplex. The anime is, but it's still like within that.
Yeah, we got
comic.
the Atlas art in the game and stuff. Persona looked really nice. It kept its unique Persona style. We didn't get anything from the anime.
Exactly. If we're going by that, then yeah, like a lot of times we can look at the Aniplex stuff, because a lot of people are already wishing for Demon Slayer in Weiss, but that's maybe more like wishful thinking now. Because if you imagine it like Danmachi getting another set to another card game, Osaka, same as Kagi, I believe, maybe a new set in Weiss might be a little too expensive to get as a license, but still, it's still possible because we did get first season sets and whatnot, so it's still possible.
We could still get them, and I hope that with Musume coming over to Weiss, that Side Games will also maybe open up that Grand Blue gate for us.
Oh, that's true, huh? So there's another connection there, even if it's not Grand Blue Fantasy anime.
Currently, we have access to all Side Games, like, what do you call it, big names inside Bushiroad, right? With Shadowverse Evolve now, and with Musume, Grand Blue is just the last bastion that we need to break into.
So if anything, like if Bushiroad can just get the IP, there's no reason not to get it into other Bushiroad games. Yeah, we're looking at you, Genshin and Bushiroad. You guys messed it up.
Hey, I mean, it wasn't coming to Weiss anyways, you know?
Well, it wasn't wishful thinking until it wasn't, okay?
Until it wasn't.
Alright. Okay, so moving on to our next topic. It was probably going to be one of our mainstays in this podcast, so I'll let Jesus take care of it.
All right, ladies and gents. So this is going to be our report for our local here. We had 11 people at this tournament. Pretty big tournament, in my opinion. And if you guys are wondering who or what our top fours was, it was, you guessed it, Alice. So we got first place Jordan, second place Jarek, third place Jojo, and fourth place Tanner. And everybody was running Alice. Yeah, no, they were doing a great performance. I know a lot of them were, it was probably, I think their first tournament playing, if not second tournament playing the deck. And you can see a lot of the improvements. You know, very, very dominant deck. And actually, it was the first time I got to see it in action. Although I didn't enter myself, I still got to see, like, I stick around, I look, and I watch and see how people are playing it. And the deck looks very, very scary. I can see why it's so dominant and why it is dominating a lot of the Weiss worlds. And it looks interesting to play. I'm not gonna lie, it's just pot, as everybody says, potching with the combo. There was a couple of upsets, but I think overall it's gonna be something that we shouldn't be surprised by with anymore, especially as far as the results. Sao is a very, very strong deck. Another thing I would say, it has a lot of consistency towards it. You know, you have one game plan and you stick to it. So it's not going to be something that is, you know, going to be surprising, like, oh, okay, Alice won. But, you know, that's just the way the cookie crumbles, and that's the meta. Albert, I do know that you did participate in this local. How did you do?
I went 2-2 technically. Round 3 I had a bye. First 2 rounds I did face 2 of the Alice players. Of our 11 players, we did have 4 Alice players. And I got queued into both of them. The deck I was playing was D4DJ, 8-door build. That deck, it is just a terrible, terrible time against Alice. My level 1 is a on-reverse combo, and as we know with Alice sitting at 11k, my 8ks are not going to do anything about that. And my level 3 being a 1 big shot of damage loses the money counter. What can I do? I did beat Tokyo though, so you know, then at least I have that.
There you go. There you go. All right. Well, there you have it, guys. And then, Fran, I do know that you did play a couple matches. You were in the local as well. Did you encounter any of the Alice players, or were you one of the lucky ones that got to dodge them?
Okay, first of all, I did play an Alice player. Only one though, but Jordan, I faced him, he won the whole thing. I didn't dodge the Alice matchup. I did build a deck, and I was using Kanatagura Hololive. And I built the deck, and I shoved in level 2 killers for the Alice. But that matchup didn't matter because it all came down to like the end game anyways. Because Jordan didn't really combo off that well. He only had 2 Alices at the time in like in between turns, so it wasn't even a factor. It was just, okay, well, it was still Alice anyways. Our top 4 was all Alices, and only 4 people did play Alice, and every single one of them top.
I mean, technically, Luis did play Alice.
Yeah, he did.
We did have a technical 5th.
But I think he got 5th play.
No.
Did he actually get 5th?
No. Oh, Luis played Alice combos, but he did play Sao Alicization too. He didn't play.
He plays so, man, I love that man.
That dude's a G, bro.
Oh yeah, he doesn't care, man.
All right, then. So with that being said, right, the whole big topic here, why beat around the bush, right? Alice is a very big monster right now in the scene, as I mentioned before, right? She's running, I feel like, the meta right now. Do you think, as far as locals, do you think it's actually gonna do a huge meta change, right? Like, sure, we can mention some of the other locals, but let's stick to our locals right now. Based on what we saw this week, saw the previous week, do you think Alice is what's gonna be running our locals now because it's so accessible to a lot of the players that are playing in it? Or do you think that's just kind of be like a 1 week, 2 week hype thing and people are gonna go back to playing with?
I would want to hear Fran's opinion on this first. I have my opinion, but I want to see if you share the same thoughts as me, Fran.
Okay, for Alice, let's just say Sal, because it's a very big IP and it actually sold well. I think this is still gonna be a menace. Even in JP, Alice is still around, or Sword Art is still around. We're only mentioning Alice because it's the card that is terrorizing the meta. But right now, because Sword Art is popular and it's like, it just released like at least a month ago, or maybe fewer than that, it's just gonna be around the meta, even in just our locals, because it's just that good. And it's also that popular. Well, Alice is gonna be here to stay, but oh my goodness, it is actually a menace. What about you, Albert?
Yeah, I mean, Alice is definitely going to be one of the kings for a long time. We've seen this in Japan, right, with their meta and how it reflects over. For a while, we did have Quince contesting them, Quince and Hololive, but it just seems right now that Alice is just going to take over the meta. But if we're talking about our LGS, I don't think we're going to have to worry too much about the Alice threat, personally. Because for us, it's probably just very player dependent. We have, of our top 4, one who is not a consistent local, and even one more with Jarek and JoJo, they don't show up consistently. If those 2 are not showing up, I don't think Jordan's going to be playing Alice. And I mean, Tanner plays whatever he wants. Like, he just kind of randoms it out. It'll just be like maybe Alice one day, maybe Mashoku the other, maybe one day he's feeling spicy and he wants to play Nino. Personally, I don't think our LGS is going to be like formed with Alice's. I think it's going to still be a normal meta for us. We do have some players playing some strong stuff like Kanata Marin.
It's that by Nino.
I mean, Jordan sometimes brings out the Nino, but yeah, it would mainly be that. We might have 3 players playing some strong stuff, but then you'll have players like myself playing like D4DJ or Rag. Should be fine. And like personally, my D4DJ deck, Link Ruby Mix version, I think it can do all right into Alice. Swings for 13-5. They have to burn backups, whatever. They can't protect all 3 most of the time. I mean, I don't think it's gonna be too scary.
All right.
Personally.
All right.
Well, again, just at our LGS, I think the meta in general is gonna be completely screwed. At ours, so we're fine.
So if I give my opinion on it, I would say I don't get to enter as much as I'd love to, but if I was playing,
you still get to see and
observe,
you definitely have a good feel.
Yeah, I feel like I'm on the same boat as you. I don't think it's gonna be like always Alice. Maybe right now because everybody's like, oh yeah, like we get to play Sal and all this other stuff, right? I think every week there'll be a Alice player, but I don't think everybody's gonna be on that hype because there is a lot of people that aren't playing it. Like me myself right now, like I'm playing Sneaker Bunko and I was playing JoJo's, I was playing Revengers, right? Like I'm playing all these other off meta decks because that's just what I like. That's what I like to play. But I don't think, at least as far as our local, I don't think it's gonna be like Alice. You get me? I share your same opinion. I'm on the same boat.
In the social media, at least for Weiss, there's a really big name in Weiss, Shizukats, Randall. He had an opinion about like Sao as a meta because in his Twitter, he actually mentioned that Sao is dominating the meta so much, it's using 4 different top ends in one local, and this one's a pretty like big local.
HSI?
No, it was unrated. It wasn't as big.
Unrated, okay.
Yeah, unrated has like a pretty decent amount of people, and literally 4 players. And to be honest, at that time, I think Sao just came out in EN. Everybody is running mixed. Our local is mostly EN, but in some other locals, they run mixed formats, and all those different Sword Art Online Alice decks ran different ones. The first one was a choice with the JP finisher, the
Kirito Asuna, right?
Yep. And then the second one was Choice Door, which is available for everybody, the Silica. And then the next one is Choice Pants, which is rarely played, but it's still pretty good. The Kirito Pants finisher from the same set that 2-1 Alice comes from.
Yep.
And then the 4th place one was also a choice, but this one is running Argo, and it's all pure EN. Yeah. In a sense of Sao being meta, it's still like happening right now. Even if it's, let's just say it's still flavor of the month. Let's keep it as like, okay, we'll let the weeks fly by. Maybe Saikano releasing might shake it up a little bit, or other sets just might shake it up, or like we find a counter in EN. So that might be a thing. And as you mentioned, in our locals, I want to add that not everybody has Sword Art Online. So they're just gonna play whatever they have, or at least whatever they think is fun. So we bag about Jordan sometimes. Like I bag about him a lot, even in this channel. He doesn't play anything OP, even though in our last BSF he did play Bashoku Tensei. Again, I have my own opinions, but in Jordan's case, I think because he won with Sao, I don't think he'll come in next week or in the upcoming weeks like, oh, I'll just keep running Sao, keep winning. It's not in his.
Well, I mean, again, he played it because he saw other people were playing it, right? He just didn't want to like play his Dao deck into an Alice and be like sad because it's like, okay, you're playing the better deck.
But at the same time, if you look at other players, it's just probably more player difference than anything. But yeah, you can definitely just run the best deck and still do like, okay, all
I
right.
definitely don't disagree with that.
Jesus, do you have anything else to add?
No, I mean, I feel like you guys pretty much hit all the points. Anything I say is really just reiterating to whatever points you guys hit. And all we can see is just what can change up the meta, as you mentioned, right? Like the Saikano set coming out recently, or just literally like 2 days ago. And you never, I mean, I highly doubt Avatar's gonna have something, but you never know, right? Like you just never know. Like, what if Avatar has something to deal with Alice in the craziest world, right?
Yeah.
Which would be amusing. It'd be fun. It'd be amusing that, and we won't know until it comes up because it's an English exclusive set. For some reason, there's a card in there that just deals with her really well, and then it's like, oh, what the heck? Wait a minute. You know, like,
yeah.
I think it'd be crazy. I think Weiss would be in a very crazy timeline if that happened.
If Bushiroad just prints a set that just says like, okay, well, if this is dominating, we'll just print cards in this set that just deals with it, and it
that can deal with it, right? That so it doesn't make Avatar broken, but it makes it as a good like quote unquote rogue deck or anti-meta deck or something that can deal with Alice pretty well, right?
It needs to compete. That's the big thing. We hope that Avatar can compete with whatever Alice is doing right now, because it really would suck if a lot of these new sets are coming out, they have a lot of hype in them, and then they just get outed by Alice. And that feels like what's happening, right? Even with certain other decks. I mean, at least we've had like Slime, Key All-Stars. They do put out numbers. They're still doing fine. Just the overall Alice representation right now is just really, really high. And it would just suck if we stuck with a meta of just Hololive Alice.
Exactly. So I did want to like follow up on that, is that even if Sword Art is still really big, Hololive is just popular through representation because it's that popular. It might not play well into Alice, maybe it does. It's just that those two sets, and Hololive is coming to English, those two sets might just dominate the whole meta. And don't forget Quince as well. Quince is still up there.
We haven't even seen what it's going to be like when Quince 3 comes out.
At least in EN. And it's technically unbanned in EN.
It's free.
Exactly. So we'll segue that into our last topic.
Our last topic is going to be covering over the ban list. Everyone's favorite thing to look at. We're just looking at the EN ban list right now. Obviously, with our recent ban, we got the Choose 3 with the Nino Ironwood profile. We have the Neg Soul counter. And then we have the Mill 9 Ichika, as I'm going to call it, wallet. It does hurt Quince with the Mill 9 being removed from the deck because we're not removing our Nino. That card is just too good for the deck. It lets you even find climaxes on top, salvage anything that you need, get your 2/2s or 1/1s into the waiting room so that way you can stand by them out. It's just too good of a card. We just can't get rid of it. And then the other big ban from English obviously being the Escanor and the Gil Thunder. Choose one. Again, it's like an obvious choice. You have to pick the Escanor here because we need the combo.
Yeah.
The deck can't run if we don't combo. We do have the Merlin, but obviously Gil Thunder being a big problem with the top check, allowing Escanor to hit you for a burn 1/6 times. It's just rough. I think you'll agree with me, Fran, on this one. Like, what could we have done differently on like the ban?
For one, the Quince ban was, I think that's fair. If we are copying the JP ban, this is the ban that they have
currently,
before they kept banning quintessential quintuplets with the restrict 2 of the 3/2 Nino. But this one is a very, very fair ban, I would say, because those 3 cards were actually, they weren't problems per se, but they made the deck really
It's
oppressive.
consistency.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of times the pendant wasn't really played a lot. It was more like a 50-50, like do you play it or not? Deck slot issues, whatever. But you always
But
played.
it also saved you. When it comes up, it's the best card in the game, right? That's with any counter that neg souls. I lived, I can kill you now.
And as for 7 Deadly Sins, I do think the ban restricting 7 Deadly Sins was correct. I don't think restricting the cards that they chose were correct. But at the same time, this is the one that we're working on. To be fair, in past Bushy Road Springfest, at least the ones that are still running right now, 7 Deadly Sins is still doing fine. Granted, it is teams, but it's still topping. So the bans are fair. And
Just hit the kill range of Escanor. And that's how we just have to think about it. Making it from a guarantee for a 6, like a 6 or 5, you might not hit the CX. You don't always hit the CX off the top. It just has to hit the consistency. We can't have an uninteractable take 1 6 times.
Escanor sometimes have problems with reach. It's just that it just guarantees a kill.
Yep.
That is the other thing. But Jesus, what about you? What about the bans, or at least the ban lists? What do you think about the newest ones? The old ones we already are working on.
Yeah, as far as Quince, I never really played Quince, so a lot of it is just kind of like, okay, whatever. Like, and I didn't play it, like I didn't run into it in our locals as much to be like, oh my gosh. So I didn't get that much of an effect. I did play Escanor for BSF, and that one I can talk into a little bit more and how I feel about getting Gil Thunder banned or Escanor Aqua. Like, obviously the way you guys talked about it before, you're gonna run the Escanor to level 0. You're gonna run it no matter what because you can't do your level 3 without it. I would say, and now this is my hot take, I don't think Escanor was that devastating that I needed a ban right away, and that's just my hot take.
I get it. Let it cook a little bit more, you know.
Yeah.
How the meta develops. It did.
Yeah, right. Like I would wait just a little bit longer because let's say with Sal being the big talk, let's say we had Escanor at full power with Gil Thunder. Is having Gil Thunder gonna really make Escanor that much more devastating against Sal? Like probably not. It would give it a little bit more amp because you get to rearrange the top 3 of your deck. That's dope. Everybody wants it, and you bounce the character. But I just don't think that I think the ban was done a little too quick. That's just how I personally feel. I don't think it really got a lot of time to shine to where it was like, oh my god, like I'm playing against Escanor, I'm losing right away. I just don't think it was at that level. And it's not because like, oh, I love, like, you know, Escanor's like my favorite character in 7 Deadly Sins, and I enjoyed the deck for what it was, and I'm not here defending it because I played the deck. If it really was busted like that, then I'd be like, yeah, obviously it needs a ban, you know, it's well deserved. But I don't think it's deserved to the point where it needs a ban, like at least right away. If it was a couple of months down the line, sure, it got to cook, it did what it did, right? But I think it was too soon. Bushy Road and all, and this is again, like I say how it is, right? I think Bushy Road jumped the gun too quick. I think it was a little, I'm trying to find the right word for it. It was just
preemptive.
It was just way too preemptive. Like they just jumped the gun way too quickly. Like they probably heard a lot of the feedback from the players, or from the only real tournament other than maybe what was the one before Springfest?
BCS?
Worlds?
BCS.
Yeah,
Worlds. Worlds. Other than Worlds, BSF, that's it. Like that's really all where it showed up. But if you look at it, it taught, but it didn't win. You know, it still lost to Nino. Like there was no Escanor decks I could think of that beat Nino. You get me? I think maybe one, but it didn't win. And then BSF, it didn't. I think it won, right? But the reason why that one's a little harder to count is because it's a team tournament. My team could have gone top 3, but what if I lost every single match, but my team won the other, like, the matches, right? Does that really make Escanor busted? No, it was a team tournament. I'm just thinking it's too preemptive. As far as moving away from that, now looking at the state of the deck, is it still a strong deck? Yes, I still think it's a very, very strong deck. It's probably one of the best decks out there. I would say the change that I did to mine was you just run Merlin at 4. You run her at 4, and that's it. And in reality, like, what you lose from losing Guild Thunder is the rearranged top 3, which is, again, hot take, I think it's all right. Like, it's cool. I guess it's cool because you get to choose, like, you get to check what's going to be under there. But aside from that, you still bounce a character. And not only that, but Merlin actually opens up to 2 other options, which is bring back a character or heal the stock. It's not like she's just like early play, bounce 1 character. No, she opens up more options, right? So now that you run at 4, and let's say you have a gang of stock, right? Where it's like, oh, you can only Escanor twice. Reality at that point, GG, depending on the game state. And let's say you don't have another Escanor, and you're like, all right, shoot, at least I have stuff for Merlin. You can heal the stock, which 1 damage, if you don't kill them, could make a big difference. You can still bounce the character. You can revive maybe a character. Maybe you want to use Merlin to bring back another, like, Escanor or something. I don't know, right? She opens up a lot of situations that can still help you out.
All right, to be fair, it's not revive, it's just salvage.
Salvage.
It is bringing back a character to hand, not to the field.
To hand.
Yes. The issue with that logic is that Merlin is great. You always run her at, like, any Escanor deck anyways.
Yeah.
The problem with Merlin is that her colors weren't green or yellow.
Yeah. So those are the cons, right?
Exactly.
The color red. The deck did change still a decent amount, right? Because you run the Elaine Brainstormer. You run 2 of. I would say the only other con would be, you have to have hand. Like, you have to ditch another card. You're already ditching however many Escanors you have on field, right? You're already ditching the level 0s plus Climax. So in the perfect world where you want a triple Escanor and you have 3 of the Master of Taverns in hand, there's still more cards you gotta ditch. But other than that, I still think she's an amazing card. I still think the deck is really amazing. I think the deck is slightly nerfed. I don't think the nerf was needed, but I mean, it does change a little bit. That's just where I stand with the whole thing.
That's fair.
Bringing to the point of preemptive nerfs, we did also have a preemptive nerf before too. We had a really, really dominant deck in Data Live, and then it basically mirrors the quintessential quintuplets ban list. But we also, at the same time, the first EN ban list came out, they also nerfed Kaguya, which is the same exact situation as 7 Deadly Sins right now. Because Kaguya had to choose one of 3 at the time. You choose the Chika Riki, the Hayasaka Drop Search, and the K Mill Runner Clean Cut. Yeah. At the time, it only performed sorta well in 1 tournament, which is BSF 2021. At that time, it was only 1 tournament, and you guys were correct, and you hit it on the nail on the head. It was a preemptive ban because they just didn't want Kaguya to just run around at the current meta to just be the menace that it was in JP. Because at the time in JP, when they banned Data Live, Kaguya was actually topping. So they didn't want that in EN. Same situation as probably the 7 Deadly Sins ban. And that's where you guys said, like, oh, it's too preemptive. And I think it is. And that's probably just my take on it, because it just mirrors both situations back in 2021.
Just hitting it too fast. I am interested in what Bushi is going to do currently, because if 7 Deadly came out in December, right, and this band came in April, so 5 months about, how long will Alice go unchecked is the question.
You see, okay, so it came out in December, but the deck didn't start showing quote-unquote placements until, like, when was it, February?
January.
Right? It showed 1 in January, and then 1 in March, and it got hit right away. So it might be even a little bit less.
Because it's the same situation as Kaguya. It only performed 1, like, not even well, similar to 7 Deadly Sins. It just had a better matchup against Data Life, and it didn't want to rampage against the other decks in EN. So they preemptively banned it. So yes, 7 Deadly Sins had a preemptive ban, and only for, like, 5 months. And
so Bushy-Road, if you're watching this, hit me up, bro. If you need help nerfing decks, let me know, because I really think that they should look back into that. Or going forward, don't be so preemptive with it, because, and this is from a history of competing in things where things get buffed and nerfed all the time, right? Anything preemptive, in my opinion and in my experience, is not always a good thing. And there's 2 cases so far now where that has happened. Yeah. Don't be scared to let the meta run its course for a little bit. It's okay. Unless it's something where it's like, oh, oh my god, like we cannot win, like it's creating an auto win situation, then obviously hotfix. But if it's not doing that, then hold your horse. You know, don't be afraid to let it cook for a little. If it's getting to a really toxic point, then sure. But if not, let it cook just a little bit. Stir in the pot. It's okay. Some people are gonna be upset. Some people are gonna be happy. That's whatever. Wait until the problem actually like is there to be like, okay, yeah.
Because of that, then we're still gonna have to let Sword Art cook a little bit.
Yeah. Like Again, I haven't played against it, right? I haven't entered tournaments, so I haven't played against it to be like this. But from what I'm seeing, I think the situations are still winnable, but it's very hard. I will say that. And you said it earlier, right? When you were talking to our friend Enrique, you said you're not thinking as much because your opponent's thinking more, which is true. But maybe we should let it cook a little bit, see how's it going. At least with this one, we do have information and statistics from JP where Alice is actually being a very dominant deck, and it's been out there a little bit longer. So for this one, it's one of those situations where we don't have to let it cook as much, but still give it some time. You know, give it like 2-3 months, see what's going on. If it's really getting to that point of basically auto win, right, or it's getting there, then yes, that would be a nerf.
So like it becomes a tier 0 deck where like that's where you play and never win.
From representation currently in Japan, it is up there. If I looked at, from what I remember, the top 5 decks, which were representation was Hololive, well, Sword Art first, Hololive, D-Side, was it D-Side? No, Overlord, and Key All-Stars. Now, this was from the tournaments that I saw. The representation between Hololive and Alice was pretty close, and Slime and, Overlord are also pretty up there. We have some decks that are doing pretty well into them, but they still show the number 1 as Alice.
Yeah, you see, so that's what I'm trying to get at. If you're playing decks into it, and they're really, really close matches, or they have really close numbers in representation, then is it really like that bad? But it's not like
a huge dip in representation after that, then becomes the issue. Hololive obviously has a lot of people playing it. Still going to be an amazing deck. Overlord is going to be insane when it comes into the meta. Slime is Alice, but blue also going to be a strong one. I mean, we'll see. Hopefully Avatar, again, like we've been talking about, is going to stir up the meta.
Because we already know what's coming out in EN, and granted, Saikano might shake it up a little bit just because it just got released. Like it might shake it up a little, and people want to play unbanned Saikano, at least in EN.
We haven't been hit. I mean, obviously they have memory flush, which is kind of a problem.
It's unfortunate that Sword Art actually has an answer to at least a very niche strategy.
Memory compression.
Yeah, just built in the card that you just play, just because.
Yep, as an auto include in every deck.
It might shake up the meta. We might have, in our locals probably, we might have those players as well that play Saikano.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I'm maybe trying it out.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm one of those people who want to play Saikano as well. It's just a fun, good deck. It's almost Helmet, kind of, just because, like, you just do your combos. Megumi's pretty good.
Combos, go.
If we're talking about the current ban list then, right? Because JP hasn't had an Alice ban, or at least a Sal ban that's related to Alice. We had a JP ban from before, but it was related to the Kirito combos. Right now, we don't have one. So if JP hasn't banned it yet, why would EN do it?
Yeah.
And if
was the latest ban the Quince D-Side, or was it one after that?
The latest ban technically was no ban list, and then before that was the Quince D-Side one. So we did get a ban list technically updated in JP at least, but it didn't get updated. And we already knew that Sal was cooking at that time. And it is performing pretty well in JP still. And JP had a opportunity to release a new ban list and they didn't, which is very, very unusual. But I think one of it is because, again, Sword Art is pretty popular. They probably want to sell and
they don't want to hit it.
Not yet. At least because it took a while.
In the same vein, do you think, because for possible bans, obviously people would want a ban, do you think something like Hololive would be hit for a ban?
Technically, Hololive has been topping as well as Quince, and Quince is the only one being hit. Like Hololive hasn't won, I think. Okay, I might be wrong. I'm pretty sure Hololive has won a tournament or so in the past year.
It's just by numbers alone, right?
Yeah, and meta is not just by winning percentage, it's also representation, and Hololive is up there.
Do you think we see a hit to Kanata?
Yes, they should actually have I don't want to say there should be a restriction list in Hololive. I think EN is just too scared to do anything Kanata related because JP hasn't done anything yet.
Yeah.
It's really hard to ban, I want to say, the Kanata decks, just because if you ban the 2-1, then you don't play the 3-2.
You can't play the 3-2, yes.
Or at least like you choice restrict it with what? Like the helmet? I think you actually restrict the 2-1 with the helmet, I guess. Right? The helmet Kanata? That's one of the glue, the glue pieces of it. Or
no, you just can't guarantee your pieces nearly as well.
and you could still plus anyways, because you still have really good selection at like 0. But at the same time, yeah, to be fair, Hololive doesn't really need to get hit because a lot of other decks are still topping too. It's not just a Kanata variant. Marine, I think, is a more problematic
Yeah,
card.
I posed the question because like currently I think we have the big cards in JP, especially for Hololive. Is going to be Kanata, it's going to be Marine, and now it's going to be Gura. Kanata has been shown as a prominent force in both Kanata Marine and Kanata Gura. While the meta seems to be shifting more towards the standby Gura variants, the Kanata Gura variant is still very popular. So is Kanata the problem?
I do think it's because Hololive is just a huge set. Kanata might be a symptom of the problem, I think. Because Kanata isn't really effective unless the finisher is good.
Yeah.
Because your sculpting is like incredible with Kanata. But if your finisher isn't as good as, you know, Gura or Mari, or you can play some other one like Towa or Fubuki, right? And then they just finish just as well. It's just that Kanata provides a lot more, but it doesn't, I don't want to say make or break the deck. It just makes it too good, kind of like Alice.
It's the glue of the deck, right?
Correct.
Because without it, how do you get everything?
To be fair too, like Marine is probably just as big of a problem as well, just because like how efficient it is. It's not explosive,
finisher,
but it's slightly unheard of for like little resource that you need. You can technically triple Marine with just one Marine in hand, which is like ridiculous. To be fair, I think Hololive Dude does need a ban, even if I'm like a really big fan of it. It sucks. Your set, Jesus here, he also likes Escanor, and it got hit, which sucks.
I mean, I guess we are technically skimming over it, but I guess Hololive did get hit.
No, okay, yeah, to be fair, JP, I think, was just not ready for the Sora sudden popularity. I think the hit wasn't fair. It wasn't preemptive, to be fair. Like, Sora was popular back there, and it was hitting all the more popular decks. This is actually before South, which is the funny part. Like, they just hit Sora just because, like, oh god, D-Side and probably, like, Love Live or Key can't keep up. Probably Itsuki, too, can't keep up with the Sora just, like, coming out at level 1. Then that's too ridiculous. But again, if we're just going back to, like, EN stuff, Sao would probably get hit, but what would it be? It can't be, like, just a straight-up ban of the 2-1. It has to, like, hit, like, a choice. So, if you guys have any, like, suggestions or, like, what could get hit?
I mean, personally, to make it a fair card, I think, you know, you hit the 1-0, but that also feels like it kind of ruins the whole point of the card.
Well, for the most part, you don't just straight up ban the 1-0. You'd probably just choice restricts it with something. What makes the deck consistent? The Aincrad event?
Aincrad is definitely the strongest mill option they have, and that's what allows them to safely hit those Alices, right?
Or like what I like to call the Asuna Grisaya card. They could hit that too because it's also one of those mill options that also grabs the Aincrad, which is pretty good, which in a sense is already a 7-card mill for free.
Yeah.
Or they could hit the Lifa, where if you are running out of stock, you can just use the hand just to guarantee the third Alice, basically, right?
Yeah, because your hand doesn't matter if you're gonna
Yeah.
spend 3 as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like your climax will just become 3 cards. Other options probably, and it's not even like a big thing, maybe the Sorlatina, but that's not even like in every list. And I don't even think you ban Graham. It's not like the problem at all.
Graham's annoying, but also it does come out at level 2, right?
Anything other than that is okay.
What level 1's contesting Alice, right?
Exactly.
Especially on defense.
That's the big issue. It's like when Kanata was big. What contests Kanata level 2? Pachin. Pachin doesn't do anything. Any other thoughts for you, Jesus?
No, like I said, I haven't played against the deck enough to really be like, what would I ban or nerf from it, right? I do think that, I mean, obviously you can't really hit the 1-0 or the Alice themselves, I feel like. But I do agree that you can restrict cards. And at most that event sounds like it's one of the good hits, I guess you can say you can do, like one of the restrictions. You can do that. Is that the same event? Or a backup? There's a backup that's like really important in the deck, or no?
Oh yeah, the
1-1 backups, the anti-change backup.
Yeah, there's like 4 backups you play in that deck and the money counter, which is the
yeah.
deal no damage.
You see, so like those are another things that you can restrict and be like, oh, choose 2 of 4, 1 of 3, right? Something like that.
A lot of times Bushido does not restrict combos. Like they don't just say like, okay, you can't play this combo. because you're, as one of our local said, Kevin, that like if you ban a combo, you're effectively banning 2 cards. They don't want to do that. Usually they restrict combos as you can only have like up to 2 copies or whatever, similar to what they have Nino in JP or the data live restriction. So they could restrict Alice to 2. That's an option as well, but I don't know, maybe it's still up in the air. We don't have anything conclusive because JP hasn't done anything, at least with Sword Art using Alice. We're gonna have to wait and see if Alice cooks, and it will cook.
Will cook.
All right, that's it for today. Do you guys have any other shout outs, mentions, anything before we sign off?
It's a book.
It's a book.
Okay. All right, as for me, Francisco, thank you guys for listening, and my other 2 guests as well, Albert and Jesus, and we are signing off. Peace, guys. Oh, you guys are not gonna say goodbye. All right, cool.
Ah,
It's a
that
book.
is a book, brother.
Okay.
Book.
It's a book.